Hi guys, so as well as playing Warhammer 40k Kill Teams, I'm also now getting into playing Blood Bowl. And this is actually a box set that I bought, well, about a year or so ago. And anyone who's been following my channel for that long, or even longer, will know I didn't used to like painting miniatures. And yeah, I think in the previous 2 years, I probably painted about a dozen miniatures, if that. So yeah, so when I got this box set, I thought it was a good idea at the time, until I realised, obviously, I've got to paint the miniatures. And that kind of put me off. So yeah, so that's why this has been sitting on a shelf for all that time. Whereas, as we all know now, I actually love painting miniatures, so I thought it was time to get this out, shake it off the dust, and yeah, let's play the game. Obviously it comes with a board game there, as you can see, but I really wanted to make my own, just because obviously, well, I like things to look really nice and neat. And talking of nice and neat, I've come across Kraken Studios, and this is where I've got all the files for my my Blood Bowl pitch, and you can see they do a variety of stuff here, which is pretty awesome. But this is what I was obviously looking at, was the Blood Bowl pitch, as well as obviously all the bits that go around it. So I'm going to make the full stadium up, as well as obviously all the crowd sort of people. They do a variety of the fields, which is awesome. So you can get stone ones, and obviously the grass ones, and a wooden one. It's the grass one that I wanted to go with, and as you can see, it comes with a whole variety of all the bits and pieces you'll need to make up your pitch. As I say, I'm making up the pitch and the full stadium, but in this video I'm going to go through and show purely the pitch. There is a link in the description, guys, to Kraken Studios, so go check them out. I say the stuff they produce there is just amazing, and the detail in everything is, well, it's awesome. So obviously with this pitch, I'm going to be gluing mine down to some board. Obviously this is a modular set, so obviously it comes in a variety of tiles with connectors. Well, yeah, you can put together, say it's modular, so you can make it however you want. But say in my case, I'm going to glue it down. So I won't be using any connectors on any of the tiles, which basically means I can reduce the size down, as I don't need, obviously, all the bottom bit. So exactly what I'm doing here. So my skill in 3D stuff is incredibly limited. So I use Tinkercad, which basically means I can take bits away. And as you can see here, I basically cut off the whole bottom bit, reduce the size by, or the depth of it by quite a lot, so I'll be using less resin, I'll be able to print things off quicker, and yeah, I say I don't need the bottom half because I'm not going to be using the connectors. So using the good old Photon Mono X, I had this bad boy printing for about 4 days continually, because obviously you say I print out all the tiles and all the gubbins that go around, and you'll see they come out nice and thin. These were printed about 3-4 days ago and have started warping. I have changed up the layout and the setup of these, as these were printed with supports, but they were flat. So all the ones I did afterwards were at 45 degrees. But I've also had to go using my Cobra Neo to print out some tiles. And as you can see, obviously these ones come out nice and flat, and well, they remain nice and flat, which is pretty cool. So I'm also going to leave links to where you can get the Anycubic Photon Mono that I use all the time, as well as the Cobra Neo, which I say is a great little printer, really nice and small, and yeah, the quality on both of these is sort of spot on, so you can't really grumble. I'm going to go with just purely printing on the Anycubic, more so for speed, as the resin printers are so much faster. So yeah, that's what I'm using to print out all the bits and pieces, a whole variety of tiles, basically everything I need to make up the pitch, really. So as mentioned, I'm going to be gluing all my tiles down onto some MDF, just to say I want to make a nice big board up with a full stadium. I'm going for some 9mm MDF. Main reason for this is obviously once I glue these tiles down, if I went for a thin MDF, the MDF could actually sort of start warping. So the first thing I did was obviously marked out the grid and where all the tiles need to go. Just so when I did come to glue them down, it would be nice and easy, and well, basically I'd get them all in the right position and nothing would go over the edges. So as you can see, those lovely people over at Kraken Studios made up the centre tiles with, well, my logo, which is pretty awesome. So yeah, I've got definitely a personalised sort of pitch here, which is great. So normally when I'm sort of doing these kind of things, I would use the Gorilla Glue, but say because some of these tiles have warped a bit, if I use the Gorilla Glue, well, I'll have to lay a load of books down and leave it for a good half hour. So yeah, where possible, I'm just using the normal glue, and on some of the flatter tiles, I will use the Gorilla Glue. And obviously the super glue I'm using is just a cheap super glue, but obviously it's a nice quick sort of, well, say quick, it's a good 15 to 20 seconds setting, but it does mean I can just sort of hold it down with my hands and I don't have to put a load of books or heavy weights on everything afterwards. So as I say, I am actually doing the full sort of pitch and stadium all as one. So some of these outer tiles are going to contain things like the scoreboard, the seats for everyone, and a few other bits and pieces which I'm going to sort of go through in other videos. So yeah, there are a few gaps. This is mainly where I've sort of, well, I've allowed a few millimeters here and there on the bit of wood that I brought, just to make sure all the tiles fit nicely. As I say, I'd rather have a little bit of a gap than tiles overhang and need obviously trimming off. So yeah, good old bit of grout fills in all the gaps, lovely jubbly. There are, however, a few areas where some of these sort of little crosses that obviously show where the figures are meant to sort of stand within. Some of them don't meet up all that well. Again, this partly could be me, could be the printer, could be a whole variety of reasons really. So yeah, any that aren't sort of lined up nicely, I'm just sort of chopping off. And I say obviously I've printed off, as you can see, loads of little X's or stars or crosses, whatever you want to call them. Yeah, to sort of take their place and make it all look nice and neat. So this has been quite a big project, I say, with lots and lots of pieces being printed off. So that's why I was in no rush to obviously make the main board. I certainly took my time with it and got it just how I like. I also put a bit of grout on the outer edge so you can't see any of the joins there either. And yeah, really pleased with how this is looking. So with this is going to be mainly covered with sort of obviously the fake grass, but I wanted to do the old dry brushing with grey and white just because there are quite a lot of rocks and little stones here and there. So this just made it easier later on, even though I say a lot of these areas that I am sort of covering are going to be covered in grass. But yeah, again, I just thought it'd be nice and easier to do this as sort of one thing sort of from the outset. Just to say, because there are quite a lot of rocks here and there, and this just made it easier rather than doing them all separately and individually. Yeah, just did the whole board as one, and it didn't really take much time at all, which is pretty cool. And there we go. So really pleased with how it's looking so far. Doing the old dry brushing really brings all the texture and everything out. So guys, go and check out Kraken Studios because these tiles are just awesome. I say if you do want to glue them down to a board like this, they are modular, so you can sort of store them in a small box and then just get them out. They've all got little clips and you just clip everything together. So as I say, I'm going to be putting some fake grass over this, but I didn't want the black to obviously show through, just in case there were some sort of patchy areas. So I'm just going over painting green everywhere, well everywhere there's going to be grass that is, just so when I do put the fake grass on, obviously the green will show through from underneath. I'm also going to have obviously muddy areas or dry dirty areas as well, and again I'm just using some brown here just so that sort of shows through any of the muddy bits and pieces. So I'm almost ready to start putting the grass on, but obviously as you can sort of see I've gone over all my little crosses, and yeah, so I'm going to go now over, paint them all white. So these are basically just sort of like little markers if you haven't played this game. So when you move your figures, they sort of go within these little crosses, and then when you come to roll your dice or when you come to move your figure, obviously you just move it the appropriate number of kind of squares, which is pretty cool. So I am still yet to play my first game, so obviously me and my mate at the moment we're still watching some YouTube videos just of the gameplay and how to play. As you would have noticed, this is on a 7's pitch and not a full-size pitch, as these games are quicker and, well, there's more fun, there's more rucks, there's more carnage. So yeah, I've got my two different sort of greens here. The darker one is a whole lot darker than I kind of wanted. When I ordered these, the greens didn't look that different, to be honest. But yeah, they've turned up and very different. So good old PVA glue. So this doesn't need to be sort of quick drying. And obviously the PVA glue is so much cheaper and easier to use than super glue. And then yeah, with my little fake grass, I am just sort of sprinkling it on. I did used to have one of those flocking little thingies or flocking machines, and have used the flocking grass before. And yeah, I like that. So this stuff was obviously a lot easier, a lot cheaper to use, and yeah, just using this stuff really well. So as I say, there is quite a contrast in the greens. I always wanted to do the green stripy bits, but I must admit, whenever I've looked before, the different greens are generally a nearer sort of green and look fairly similar. But yeah, this is one of those cases where when you order things online, sometimes the pictures don't quite do the things justice, and obviously when it's all done, it did look too green or too dark and too light, which I really wasn't happy with. I also wasn't happy with a lot of these crosses. Some of them are a bit sort of up in the air, some of them are quite thick, some of them, well, just don't lay flat. And yeah, I think with anything you're doing, if you're not happy, start again or change things. So I've added the lighter green, and basically I took off every single one of the crosses, was taken off and replaced with a smaller one, as in depth wise. And yeah, so much happy with how it looks. It did take a few hours, but certainly worth it. And as you can see there, I've got the checkerboard pattern. Did this nice and easy. Rather than doing each square individually, I got some tracing paper, cut out some squares, and then using some really good old red paint, just sort of dabbing. Rather than trying to paint this, it was just a case of sort of dabbing to go through obviously the gap. But as you can see, obviously when you do this, there is going to be, well, it's not going to do the checkered pattern straight away. It is going to leave obviously big old gaps. So there was just a case of moving the tracing paper to the position where it then filled the gaps, and yeah, good old dabbing again. And when it was all done, you're left with a nice checkerboard pattern, which yeah, I was really pleased with. And I say it was nice and quick, rather than trying to do all these little squares individually, or even sort of like mark them all up with a pencil and then paint them. And then the one last thing to really do with the board, and that's to mark up obviously all the grid lines. And as I say, this is a Blood Bowl 7's pitch, so the grid lines on this are a little bit different. So yeah, so this board is a bit smaller, which is pretty cool because the original size board wouldn't fit on my desk. As I say, sometimes I am almost limited to what I make, because it's not like I have a studio. I literally have a desk with some monitors on, my paints on it, and yeah, so sometimes I can't make things as large as I'd like to. Because obviously, yeah, I'm sat at a normal little desk. So yeah, another good reason why the Blood Bowl 7's pitch works really, really well, because the pitch will fit on here. As I say, you can see obviously the gap around. It's going to host all the benches, the scoreboards, and a whole variety of other little bits and pieces, which I say you will see in upcoming videos. So yeah, really, really pleased with how this has come out. I'm so glad I did change the colour of the green. Because obviously that dark green was just too dark. So yeah, so this is looking really nice. Obviously I've got a few figures painted. Yeah, good old orcs, can't beat orcs. And yeah, absolutely loving how this looks. So I hope you enjoyed the video, guys, especially if you do play Blood Bowl or thinking about playing Blood Bowl. Yeah, check out the links below, guys, to Kraken Studios for these awesome tiles. Any Cubic Photon Mono X as the resin printer, which is just awesome. As well as the Cobra Neo with the FDM printer, which again is an awesome little printer, and it will fit on your desk. It's that small, but works really, really well. If you can share this video, guys, that'd be awesome, as it'll help sort of promote my channel. There's another video on the screen as well. Give that a little click. I'm going to check that one out. And a big thank you to all my patrons and Chaos Cards for helping sponsor the channel. Okay, guys, that's it. Take care. Bye for now.